about. So what's front of mind right now is this whole COVID situation, right? And like we were doing well, like we weren't making the news about like what was happening, and then all of a sudden, we thought the numbers were going down because they opened up some places. I thought it was too soon to open up the beaches and all that, but we had a governor who made a decision to do that. And now all of a sudden, we're breaking records. We have more cases than New York had on its worst date, right? So what would you attribute that to? What would you attribute that to? And what do you think you could do, or what you would do differently if you're elected to be a member of the state house?
Yeah, well, first thing I attribute it to the lightning fast speed of Governor Ron DeSantis in reopening the state. This is something people got to understand. This is from the White House down, reopening of this country. When the science is clear that we shouldn't be reopening right now. We should be waiting. We should be practicing social distancing, wearing masks, and not sending our kids back into these facilities, into schools to get sick and be vectors of this disease. So we are already entering these different phases of reopening when we should really just be waiting a while and seeing how this is. And that directly correlates with the spike in cases we're seeing here in Florida, where we're going up with Arizona in the amount of cases that are in deaths that are going up. And this because we currently have an administration running our state that does not understand science, that does not care about what the science, the facts, and the data is saying. They only care about, I don't know, winning an election or doing whatever President Trump says. But people understand that President Trump is not a scientist. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He's not an expert. He only cares about himself and his reelection prospects, but not really about the people of Florida. As far as what I can do from the state house, there are a number of things. I think the first thing we have to do is look at the economics of the situation. We currently have a lot of people who are unemployed right now who don't have access to that pay that they would usually have access to. And we have a broken unemployment system. And I think one of the things we need to have in a state representative at this current point in time is someone who's going to work at fixing our broken unemployment system, holding the state accountable to make sure people get their money. There are people in this district who I speak to every day who, ask me, I need help getting my unemployment benefits. I've been waiting 2-3 months to get my unemployment benefits. They still haven't been able to get those. So it's a lot that's going on, but we have to be willing to talk about those issues, and we need a representative who's going to hold them to account in Tallahassee.
All right. So we're going to talk about a lot of it. So let me just try to do this in like bite-sized pieces. The last point you left upon was the unemployment, and that's a real situation, and it's one that people didn't anticipate, particularly this way, right? March happened. They said they were going to shut it down. I mean, most of us figured like maybe at most we'd be closed for like 2 months, and then it'll get back together. I mean, that might have been the case if everyone did everything right. Here we go. We're like 4 months deep into this, and it doesn't seem any light at the end of the tunnel. And for the person that's waiting for unemployment benefits, what is it that you could have done, or the person that represents your district could have done to make that process smoother for folks? Or is it really beyond the scope of any Democrat? Is that something that the Democrats just can't do?
I don't think it's a lot the caucus itself can do to fix this. I think this is really something the Republican caucus, as well as the governor, needs to show leadership on. They could have fixed this problem a long time ago when Governor Rick Scott was in power, when they did what they did with the unemployment system.
I think he did it on purpose, though, right?
It was designed to fail from the start.
Mm-hmm.
And they really didn't think that we would have something like this occurring in the year 2020 to really showcase the incompetence and negligence of this administration up in Tallahassee to address this issue. So I don't think there's a lot any individual member of the House or the Senate can do, except try to streamline and speed up those operations for people in their district, reaching out to people who are in their district, getting them the help they need by reaching and connecting with the DEO, the Department of Employment Opportunity, and trying to get those benefits. A representative does have some weight, so contacting the DEO on behalf of the constituents can be a real big help in speeding that up. Although I'm not a representative, I have done that myself. I have reached out to the DEO on behalf of people in the district, voters that I've met while campaigning, who said, hey, Elijah, I might vote for you, I might not, but I'm having a problem with unemployment, getting my unemployment benefits. I don't have anybody here to help me. I can't afford a lawyer. I can't do anything. And I said, okay, well, I reached out to a lawyer, and I tried my hardest to get those people their benefits. I don't know if it really worked, but I do know those are the small things that representatives can do when they're elected and when they're in the House right now. But it's beyond any Democrat at this point. It just takes the Republicans really listening and trying to fix the problem.
But the more Democrats we get in office, the better shot we have at this actually working out for itself, right?
I
the more
think so.
Democrats we get elected. So you just use like an alphabet. You use the letter DEO. For those of us or those in the audience that don't know exactly what that means and that may be having the same struggle, can you like tell them what that is and then how they can contact them to maybe give them some information on how they can try to get their benefits?
Yes, absolutely. So the DEO is the Florida Department of Economic Opportunity, and they pretty much run the unemployment system through their Connect system, where people apply for their unemployment benefits. It's not really a working system. We already know how that operates, and getting in contact with them is very difficult, as we know. Calling their office, sometimes you're waiting, 3, 4, 5, 6 hours, and you don't really get too much of a response or too much help. So I mean, I can tell you emailing them, but reaching out to your representatives does help. They might not be able to solve the issue because they don't run the department, but they can help out in that situation by reaching out to the department officials and writing letters on your behalf and doing so much. They're here to serve you. They're your public servants. And if they're not doing that, vote them out. But reach out to your state representatives, your state senators, and ask them to help you get your benefits, and they should.
Right. And so at least you won't be on the phone for like 4, 5, 6 hours waiting, right? So at least if they can at least cut that time in half or, get rid of it, that's definitely something that should be considered. Okay. So, we're going to stay on this COVID thing just a little bit longer. One of the things that's happening is that there's a group, there's a push. Some people want to send their children back to school. Even you laugh. Why are you laughing? Right?
I don't even know what to say. I mean, there's a lot of mixed emotion here with what we're trying to do. I mean, I come from a education activist background where I've just been fighting for education for a long time, public education. And really, I'll just say this. I know why the Republicans are doing what they're doing. Some Democrats might not agree, but they're doing this because they don't like or support public education. That's the only reason why. They wouldn't be rushing to send their kids to those private schools, private schools back. A lot of the private schools, surprisingly, are not opening back up in the fall because they know something that the scientists are saying is actually the case. So it's just astounding. That's to say the least of it.
So send the kids back to school. You have to close down anyway. I mean, I still just I don't get it. So is that like in support of, because my son, I have 2 children, they're twins, and one goes to public school and one goes to a charter school. And the charter school basically gave us an option. They were trying to come up with a plan on how they can go back. I don't know if they're still following this plan on how they can go back, but I had already elected that, they're going to be online. I have a daughter that's ESC. She was one of the ones that they wanted to have go to school 5 days a week. I was like, y'all gonna have to help me figure out how that's not gonna happen, because I wasn't comfortable with sending her back to school like 5 days a week. So is there anything that representatives can do to help with this this decision on should we open, should we not open, or you guys can just go and try to get teachers more money to make the whole thing a little bit better or something?
I mean, it's complicated because there's several sides to this. There's several understandings. I mean, the first thing, and I was listening to a pediatric expert talk about this, and I'm not saying I agree with him or not on this, but I do think one of the things he said that was actually factual is that all students are different. And you do have students who are exceptional student education, kids on the autism spectrum, kids who need that specialized education. They need that in-person education because it might just be harder to do online. So how do we balance? The question a lot of the policymakers are failing to ask is, how do we actually balance getting those students the tools that they need to get that education and keeping them safe at the same time? And there's a lot of proposals. One of the proposals people have spoken about already is a really slow schedule of opening, where you have a schedule where some kids go to school 2 days out of the week, which is something Broward County was thinking about doing, where you have half the school go for 2 days, the other half go or about a third go for 2 days, another third go for 2 days, or something like that. It's really hard to understand. I think I'll tell you what I think. I think we should wait. And we should probably wait until sometime in October, November to send those kids back when we know it's safe, when the science says it's safe. is definitely hard to understand. But the other part of this is budget. We lost a lot of revenue, which means about 25% of the money that's coming into our school districts per pupil funding is pretty much gone because people aren't working. We don't have the money to collect the tax. So it's a lot of revenue that isn't in the school district budgets to go to our schools to keep them open and keep them operating. So this is why we should have had a special session back in May. We shouldn't have closed the session out in March, in my opinion. We should have kept our representatives up through March, April, May, as long as it took to deal with this. But they wanted to come back so they can run for re-election. So it's a whole issue. But we should have had that special election, and I think we still should have that special election before school opens, so we can come up with solutions to address this.
Yeah, because something has to give, right? I mean, something definitely has to give. I know some of the colleges and universities, they've decided that they're just not even going to try to go back. I'm a college, I teach, I'm a college professor, and I've been working from home since March. I just found out in the fall, I'm going to still be working from home. They're like, yeah, no, you're not coming back into our building. We're only letting maybe 10% of the people back in. That's because they have majors where they kind of need to do some things hands-on. But if it's not one of those hands-on majors, they're like, yeah, don't even think about coming on this campus or whatever, right? It's a different dynamic, but I mean, these are adults that they don't trust going back into buildings, right? Because they're afraid of what's going to happen with COVID. And just the thought of just letting little children go back in, particularly elementary school age children who haven't seen their friends since March, right? And there was no build up to it. It was just one day, it's like, nope, you're not coming back, right? So that's a very, to me, it's a hard sell. I just don't know how you'd be able to really keep them to like social distancing without creating like some big problem. So I definitely agree with you that some more needs to be known, and like they need to have something else in place to kind of figure out how all of this is going to work. But we'll definitely see how that plays out.